Hello, everyone. Welcome to JPNIC Talk Lounge. JPNIC Talk Lounge is the place where I invite the internet frontier to hear from them about the internet and its future. So today's guest is this gentleman, Mr. Jia-Rong Low, the newly appointed Director General of APNIC, Asia Pacific Network Information Center. Good morning, Jia-Rong. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, then let's start it. JPNIC Talk Lounge. We are now having the new leader of the APNIC, Jia-Rong, and then I'd like to hear a lot of things from him. So the first of all, I'd like to have your story before you joined ICANN. So Jia-Rong was the previously Jia-Rong works for the ICANN Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers as the representative for the Asia Pacific office in Singapore. So, but beforehand, he got another career before he joined the ICANN. So I'd like to hear about that. What the career before you joined to ICANN?
Thank you. So prior to this role in APNIC, I worked for ICANN for 11 years, and I set up the Asia Pacific office that's based in Singapore. Then before ICANN, I worked for the Singapore Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I covered a few different areas in the Foreign Ministry. I started off with a department called the International Economics Department.
Okay.
And I spent time in Geneva for half a year at the World Trade Organization.
Okay.
That portfolio largely was about trade and working with international organizations like the World Bank, IMF, and so on. Then after that, I moved to a different department that is covering Southeast Asia.
All right.
So my main portfolio then was really Southeast Asia and Singapore's relationships with the Southeast Asia region.
Okay.
My last post was I was posted to the Singapore Embassy in Hanoi in Vietnam. So I lived there for 3 years, and after I finished the post, then I left.
Okay. So basically you're an officer at the government, and then taking the international role, and then you were at Geneva at the WTO, World Trade Organization, and then you were in the embassy of the Singapore in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. Then did you have any relationship with the internet or computer or such kind of high-tech technology kind of thing?
So in terms of work, in the Foreign Service, we also use some internet.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, the devices that we have, the official devices only connect to the intranet. Then we have a separate device that connects to the internet itself.
Wow, yeah.
But my own exposure with internet is, in my generation, I also started off with analog, but then more out of personal interest, we play around with the internet. So starting with dial-up, and then using the internet relay chat rooms.
Okay,
yeah.
IRC.
Yes. So, at the time, I used the telephone line to dial up and then do the chat rooms.
Right.
So my mom always wonders, what am I doing? Yeah. And then, you're typing in the IRC, and then somebody calls your house, the internet connection breaks.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the time when internet was quite interesting.
Right.
Then of course things move so quickly, and you can see the development of the internet over time. So for me, it was starting with IRC, then it became everyone was downloading music illegally.
Illegally.
Yeah. Then over time now, it's almost like we're entirely reliant on the internet. And when I was posted to Vietnam, I had a long distance relationship with my then girlfriend, now wife. And we also went through the difference in technologies.
Okay, yes.
So we were maintaining our relationship at first through the SMS.
Yeah.
Overseas SMS, so it's very expensive.
Right.
Yeah, then we moved into 2G, then moved into 3G.
Okay, yeah.
And you could see the difference significantly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
those are my own exposures to internet. But frankly, at the time, I didn't know what internet or how internet really worked. And I only understood fully what was an internet technology until when I joined ICANN.
Okay. How did you get to know about ICANN?
Yeah, so my predecessor in ICANN, he's the first employee for ICANN in the Asia Pacific region.
You mean Quek?
Quek,
yes.
So Quek is the first employee.
Yeah.
So he and I were ex-colleagues. He used to be from the Singapore Foreign Ministry as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So we knew each other then, but both of us have had left the Foreign Ministry already. Sure. But as a Foreign Ministry alumni, we would catch up over like a meal. And because he's my senpai, so I asked him for advice, what do you think about our career going forward? How do you plan your career? And so
right.
I think I asked him some very difficult questions.
Yeah.
So he remembered me. Then when he got the role at ICANN, then he was looking for help because he needed to build a team.
Sure.
Yeah. So he asked me whether I wanted to help him. So then I went to research and find out about ICANN.
Okay.
Then I realized, this is actually a very interesting role.
Right.
And ICANN hired former diplomats for a reason, because throughout most of the internet's initial years, even up to like late 2000s, governments were not very interested in internet.
You mean the Singapore government?
Governments in general.
In general,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was seen as something that young people did, like my mom, or you're just using that for IRC chat, But when 3G came about, it was internet in everybody's hands.
That's right. Yeah.
So governments were suddenly very concerned.
Sure.
Actually, who runs the internet? And a lot of nobody was very clear about how this worked. But a lot of people pointed to ICANN, and ICANN realized that it needed to engage and tell governments, amongst other stakeholders, what is actually internet technology and how it works, and who controls the internet, which is actually nobody. So getting former diplomats to talk to governments is the easiest way. So that's how Quek and I were both hired.
Oh yeah, all right. I remember that our first meeting was in ASEAN APNIC conference 2013. Yeah. That's the very first. Yeah, I met Quek and yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's quite a different world compared to where I used to come from.
Right. That's correct. So you've got quite the experience in the bureaucrat and diplomat, but then you turned change your job from that to the ICANN. So what is the very first impression of ICANN or the internet profession?
So the interesting part is, we talked about ASEAN as the first meeting. So that was my first meeting in the internet / technical community.
Yeah.
In fact, I attended the ASEAN meeting before I attended an ICANN meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was that? Where was that?
My first one was in Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires. Okay.
Yeah. So I attended the ASEAN meeting first.
Okay.
And from my background, in the diplomatic corps, when people tell you something, usually there is a hidden agenda. They will tell you something, and there is an agenda. Right. They tell you something for a reason.
Yeah.
Then when I was in the APNIC meeting in ASEAN, I was quite surprised actually, because the technical community, when they talk to me, they don't really have a particular agenda.
No.
So it was really about, they just want to know me, and they invited me for lunch and for dinner. And I was like, okay, do they want something from me? Then actually, no, they just wanted to get to know who I am. And I was so surprised.
True.
Yeah, and in my mind, I also thought, oh, this is like a place where competitors come together. So on the one hand, yes, we are competitors. Like amongst ISPs, we are competitors. But on the other hand, it's a very collaborative community.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was so surprised by that too. So it's a completely different impression.
Yeah, that's actually I got the same experience in when I joined to the internet world. When I joined the internet world, that was in 1994 or 5, and then I connected my network to the internet exchange, and then at the time we are migrating from the BGP3 to BGP4. That's a big change. And then we did that. The flag that was a flag day tactics to do that. Then I did the migration from the BGP3 to BGP4, but my router didn't work properly. And then I couldn't help myself to fix it, and then I finally called to that competitor ISP, and then he kindly told me, "Oh, it's a bug of the router. I know." Oh, competitor helps me. that was my really first impression to the internet world. So. You had some expectation on your position at ICANN. Did you have any finding any difference from your expectation, but to the reality, such kind of thing?
So well, it's really a very different environment, different community we're working with.
Right.
So frankly, I didn't know what to expect. But okay. I would say I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
And very welcomed by the community.
Yeah.
And sometimes initially, I think I felt a little bit uncomfortable because I'm an outsider and I didn't know how to engage and get myself to be acclimatized into this new community. But on the other hand, the community is so open and welcoming that I didn't need to put in any extra effort. I was naturally welcomed into the community. And, I had also thought that one of the challenges I might have was on the technical part.
Okay.
Because, I came from a non-technical background. But I learned how the DNS worked, all about unique identifiers.
Yeah.
And today I can speak the technical speak largely, relatively well, because the community also taught me. So it's as you said, right? Like, if you don't know something, you ask someone and they are happy to teach you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So in fact, I share this with my APNIC colleagues today. I learned how the DNS worked from APNIC because the APNIC community, a lot of them taught me about how everything worked.
Okay. Yeah.
So I actually share my roots in the technical space from the APNIC community.
Okay. All right. What do you remember throughout your ICANN days? What most impressed you a lot the best?
And so there's actually a lot of challenges we started off with. So there was there were only 2 employees and we had to start a new office.
Right.
Then we built the office from scratch. Then about 2.5 years in, Quack decided to leave. So I took over as the managing director.
Yeah.
So by then we had almost 20 staff. But then by the time I left, we grew to over 30 staff in the region.
Right.
So it's, having your own team, building a team, that has always been very excellent. That has been one of my biggest achievements.
Okay.
Another one really is about engaging with the stakeholders in the region. So like I mentioned, the key task was getting governments to understand ICANN's role and how the internet worked. Initially, it was quite challenging, frankly. Yeah. And also, because I wasn't familiar with the technical background, but I picked that up quite quickly.
Okay.
So going to explain to the various governments in the region about how internet worked. And the fact that the governments understood it and they were like, okay, and they recognize ICANN's role in the internet as well.
Okay.
So we've established ourselves in the region very strongly. So that's another big achievement.
Okay. Did you find that your experience and expertise as the diplomat bureaucrat benefit in your career in ICANN?
Yes, I find it does a lot.
Okay.
Because where I think I value add is that I'm able to take the technical topic and make it very simple for, say, the bureaucrats, the governments.
Okay.
But I can also, for the policy side, I can also translate policy conversation a little bit more to the technical side as well. So I can kind of find my way to bridge the two sides.
Okay.
And a lot of that comes with my experience from working as a diplomat, because it's about understanding different kinds of topics, different information, and then being able to communicate them.
Diplomat is like that. You need to deal with a lot of industries and a lot of technology, technicalities, and then to have it understood to the many people, your counterparts. Yet, does ICANN have many people from such a diplomatic background?
So within ICANN, there is an stakeholder engagement team. So quite a number of colleagues from the stakeholder engagement team used to work for government.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So although full diplomats, I think there's less than 5.
Okay. And what did you think about the regional internet registry people when you were working for ICANN?
Yeah. So again, at first when I didn't really understand the relationship between ICANN and the RIRs, the regional internet registries, I was not sure what to expect. But when I met Paul Wilson, my predecessor now, and also a lot of the APNIC staff, we collaborated very well together.
Yes.
So in fact, my first project when I joined ICANN, so I joined ICANN on 1st August 2013.
Okay.
And 1st August, we opened the office, and Quack and I, just 2 of us, we opened the office, and we're like, yay, we started a new job.
Yes.
And that same night, Quack called me and said, okay, I need you to fly to Jakarta the next day. I was like, what?
The next day.
Yeah, the very next day. So on 2nd August, I flew to Jakarta. And the reason was because we needed to help the global IGF that was being hosted in Indonesia.
That's right. 2013. Yes. Bali.
Yes. So I think you remember, basically, the Indonesian government has some budget challenges.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So the ICANN CEO flew in. Paul Wilson also flew in as well.
Yeah.
So quite a number of internet community stakeholders and members flew into Jakarta to try to support the IGF.
Right.
And that was my first project.
Okay.
And immediately I was working alongside Paul Wilson, Sanjaya, the APNIC team.
Yes.
And it felt like, even though I met them for 1 day, but it felt like we could collaborate so easily.
Quickly, very quickly.
Yes. So that set a very positive impression for me for APNIC.
Okay.
And that positive impression has remained with me until today.
That's so. Actually, that in the year for the IGF 2013 in the Bali, Indonesia, was some kind of the disastrous situation, and then actually the JPNIC was asked by the Paul Wilson to do some support, military support, but to that, and then we did that. So, but that kind of the disaster make the bond tight. That's
exactly.
That's very interesting.
Yes. So starting from that, we already have a very positive relationship.
Sure.
And then we have a lot of overlap in terms of the Asia Pacific community, because how we want to see it is we are all one internet community in the Asia Pacific region.
Sure.
And whether you are working on domain names or IP addresses or other areas, we are still one community. And it depends on the topics. So for certain topics, this group can join, certain topics this group can join, but we remain united as one Asia Pacific group. And I think that mindset has continued all through my 11 years career in ICANN. And that's how we've always collaborated very closely with each other. So in many ways, I've always felt very plugged into the APNIC community. Like, I attend the APRICOT meetings, I attend the APNIC meetings. And likewise, for the ICANN activities that we have in the region, very often APNIC is a partner as well. So we've always had very close interaction and collaboration amongst ourselves.
Okay. Another question, a little bit dipping into the depth. That's you need to engage the civil society people, especially in the ICANN civil society. ICANN is a civil society and the engaging the civil society. How did you play around that? Do you have any comment on that?
Yes. So within ICANN, there is a group called the Regional at Large Organization. So they're called RALOs.
RALOs.
Yeah, RALO, RALOs.
RALO.
So they are actually split into different regions.
Sure.
So for our region, it's AP RALO.
Yeah.
So Asia Pacific Regional at Large Organization. So that grouping is a formalized grouping where there is a chair and there are vice chairs.
Yes.
So that is where we started. So leveraging on that group and working with the chairs and the vice chairs, then I support them to say, how can I help you to also strengthen their collaboration and engagement with civil society stakeholders in the region. So I have strong partnership from the leaders in the AP RALO. So that helps me then be able to also understand how civil society thinks. Because I have a group that I can work with very closely first. So from there, then we help each other and work on various events. And then we can work on building the network. And besides AP RALO itself, actually within the region, there are many of these activities, like the Regional Internet Governance Forum, so APR-IGF. So APR-IGF, I think one of the meetings, it was held in Bangkok. We had the largest participation by civil society in history. I can't remember which year it is now. I think it's maybe 2017, maybe. But we had very large civil society participation at the time. And to this day, that network has remained. So using that network, I work with different civil society organizations in the region. And depending on the topics, they have always been very helpful in advocating for us. So one of the topics that ICANN needed advocacy was on internationalized domain names and universal acceptance. So internationalized domain names, IDNs, basically means domain names in different scripts. So in the past, it's focused on alphabets. So it's only A, B, C, and 1 to 9 with a hyphen. But now domain names can actually be used in different scripts. So civil society feels that this is very good, especially to bridge digital divide and accessibility.
That's indeed.
So using this topic, I work with civil society and they partner me very strongly to be advocates for this topic.
That IDN is very popular in China and in India particularly. They have a strong need for that. But I was so impressed that I have the same feeling that the up to large community civil society has a really many people from civil society has a passion to the IDM to move forward. That's you're right. You're helped by the civil society.
So it's being able to partner with the right stakeholders on common areas of interest. So that we can both achieve a win-win situation. So for civil society, very often is advocating for a certain cause or certain issue. Then when it comes to on the ICANN side, when it comes to IDNs, it matches very much with their interests for accessibility for bridging digital divide.
Okay.
So then the partnership is very strong this way.
How about the private sector in just the same way? How they helped you, or how you help them?
So private sector is described in, it's actually a very broad umbrella term.
That's right.
So it's easier to break it down into
to the industry.
Yeah, industry
segment. Yeah.
So for example, industry in the ICANN space is about domain name business.
Business. Yes.
Yeah. So there's the registrars and the registries. So for us, it's about from the ICANN's perspective, it's about supporting the registrars in terms of helping them continue to be able to maintain compliance, because managing compliance is quite a busy thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's helping them understand about policy so that when they do their operations, they don't have issues with compliance. So it's supporting them on the one hand.
Right.
But on the business side, it's also helping them when we talk about domain names, what's new. So the industry likes to come together.
Okay.
So also it's very similar to technical community, because the competitors are all coming together, but they are all promoting domain names.
Right.
So it's interesting because it's kind of the ISPs as well. They come together and they're actually competitors. But on the other hand, when we come together in an event, they're all talking about domain names and how can we promote them together. So it's partnering them together in this area as well. So in the domain name space, I've enjoyed a lot of good collaboration in that business sector. Then there is the more broadly telecommunication sector. Some of them, because we have the domain names, but people want to use them. Yeah. So working with, just normal business or big IT companies, we also work with them to talk about how can they use domain names differently, and explore whether there's new ways of using domain names that could have an impact on others.
Yes.
So that area of discussion has always been also very interesting. For example, during my last few years, there's always been talk about moving from Web 2 to Web 3, then using blockchain for domain names.
Right.
So being able to talk about all these new technologies and new innovation has always been very exciting. So it's, as you mentioned, that we are really at the internet's frontier. How are people using internet differently, and what's the future? So the buzzwords have changed over time. Like when I first started, it was about 4G, then it was 5G, then it became Web 2 to Web 3, blockchain, and then now it's all about AI.
Sure, certainly. All right, then thank you very much. So that's, ICANN is quite a multi-stakeholder. Then one of the focus of the ICANN is how to deal with all stakeholders and then make the good policy to everyone. So that's what my point of the question. So did you do you have anything the bad memory from that, if you can share?
Bad memories from ICANN. I'm trying to think.
Well, some mistake or.
Well, I would say that I have had a very good track record in my career.
Okay, good.
I've not made fatal mistakes, which is why I managed to progress my career.
Fair enough.
But I guess definitely the good comes with the bad. There will be some challenges.
Okay. Good.
I think there's quite a number I can remember, one or two, but one of them is not really a career issue. It's more like having to travel so much.
Yes.
So going to Buenos Aires for ICANN meeting, and for ICANN meeting, I think I flew 33 or 36 hours to Buenos Aires, entirely in economy class. And I still remember until now, it's like being in, I imagine myself as a battery hen, the chicken in the factory. So it's stuck there and you can never move, and all you do is eat. Then we wait for the time to pass, and then the food comes again, then you eat again.
Broiler chicken.
So I kind of felt that it was the case. Until now, I still feel I have post-traumatic stress syndrome. Because I don't like to go to Latin America because it's very far away.
Right.
Yeah. And Latin America is a beautiful place, but it's just that travel was so challenging at the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Double long haul is too much. Simply too much.
Yeah. And traveling so much for work takes away the joy of travel. So some people will say, oh, I envy you, your job, you get to travel and see so many places. And frankly, I don't remember where I traveled. All I remember is the airport, the hotel, and the meeting room.
Right, that's right.
And that's it.
Same.
Yeah. Then you wake up one day and then you're like, where am I actually?
and your friend envies you, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't enjoy traveling that much now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes. No, I only empathize with you. Okay, then that's ICANN day, and you found the APNIC DG position was posted, and then how did you come to think about the DG position?
Well, so actually, when I heard about the role, I did not even think about wanting to apply or join. For a few reasons. The first is actually I've been doing very well in ICANN. And I've established my own team, and we've worked with each other very well. We've seen a lot of success. And the ICANN CEO trusts me. In fact, the previous ICANN CEO, Yuran Mabi, he modeled the other regional offices behind how I ran the Asia Pacific office. So I've seen very good success in ICANN. So there's no reason for me to leave. I've established myself quite well. So I'm doing very well there. So there's no push factor at all. The second reason also is that my wife last year, she asked me, she said, oh, we're getting old now. So it's the last chance to have one more baby if I wanted to try. Because we currently have 2 sons. And she's thinking maybe we should try for a daughter. So when she asked me last year, actually, I said no, because we're very busy and I'm very hands-on with my children. So actually, I'm quite tired. But she's like, you only live once. If you don't try, you may regret it.
Wow.
So she has this mantra in her way of her philosophy.
Yeah.
So, she knows me very well. So she gave me a deadline. Why don't we try till the end of the year? If we have one, we have one. If we don't, we don't. Yeah. So I was like, okay, what's the chance it's going to happen? But indeed, it happened. So our baby daughter was born in end of June this year.
Yeah.
So the timing is I'm going to have a new baby as well. So to have a new baby and have a new career,
right,
it's very challenging. Yeah, so I didn't really think about applying at all. But actually before that, I never even thought Paul Wilson would actually leave.
Right.
I never thought that he would change position. So I hadn't thought about wanting to take on this role. But eventually the conversation came to me, and then I asked my wife, okay, do we even want to try for an interview? Then my wife said, until the offer is on the table, you don't have to consider it. So just go and have the conversation first. Then if they offer you, then you think very carefully, right? But if you consider now, you haven't even had the offer on the table. So why do you even want to consider? So I thought, okay, that's a good idea. Okay, then let's have the conversation. So then I went through interviews. Then eventually I was offered the role. Then I had to have that very difficult conversation.
All right.
Yeah, to really think about whether I really want to do this.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing about in the interview, the way I talked about it, it can sound like, oh, I was just not sure. And in interview, how did I convince the executive council, the board, that I wanted this role?
Yeah.
But I looked at it from maintaining my very professional perspective. It's like I'm a consultant. So these are the issues which are for APNIC. These are the challenges. If I'm the new CEO, what will I do? So I talked about it from a very consultant, professional perspective.
Okay.
But I think that also has impress them to think that I would be suitable for it.
Okay.
So coming back now, then it's my personal challenge. Now I have to think, okay, do I want to take this up or should I not? So again, I have to first ask my biggest boss, which is my wife. So I asked her again, okay, we have a new baby, and if I take up this role, we are going to be very busy. She works as well. She's a partner in a law firm, so she has a very busy career too. And I asked her, what do you think? She gave me the very same mantra that she said about trying for a baby. She said, you only live once. Do you want to regret not taking up this role? You know, Paul Wilson was sitting on this role for 25 years. If another person comes and takes this role for 25 years, you never get a chance to be a full CEO. So with her blessing, then I decided, okay, let's try it. Let's take this up.
Really impressive.
Yeah, so I have my wife to thank for her support. You know, and I've started this role since 1st October, so 2 months officially now. And frankly, the past 2 months, I haven't been in Singapore very much. So, you know, if she's watching this, I can also say big thank you. And also many appreciate all the wives that support your husbands in their careers too.
Right. Yeah, but you know, that's really impressive because herself has the huge challenge of the, you know, having a new baby with quite, you know, esteemed profession of the lawyer, and then at the same time she you know what I say, helping herself to support you in the greatest challenge for the new position.
Yeah, I think she understands me too, because for me it's not about I've always been looking for career roles with meaning. So if you look at my career, I started in the foreign service because for me, I felt that is very meaningful.
Okay.
So I'm not the type that's chasing, you know, business, not wanting to. I don't need to get the highest salary possible or earn a lot of money, because if I wanted to do that, I would have been a businessman instead. Yeah, but for me, it's about meaning. So I started off with that. Coming into ICANN, you know, I've come to appreciate the work that ICANN does.
Okay.
And it's all about defending the single global internet. So when I had new team members join ICANN, I would do an onboarding briefing for them and tell them about the mission of ICANN, our mission, our role in the regional office. The feedback I always get is, wow, Jia-Rong is quite crazy because he's so passionate about this mission. And some of them come in with, you know, actually, I just want a job. But they were so surprised that I'm so passionate about the mission. So the APNIC role is actually a good fit. Because it shares that very same mission.
Sure.
The mission to maintain a single global internet. And it's a very good fit in that sense because I'm very passionate for it.
Okay. Wow. That's, yeah, I know you're passionate. Yeah, so that I fully understand what kind of the what I say, the feeling that your staff at ICANN at the time had on you.
Yeah, so you know, my wife, she understands me very well, and that's why she said it's a very good fit, and the mission is what you're looking for.
Okay.
So if you don't take this up, you might regret it, which is why she's so supportive.
Great. Wow. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
What have you found about APNIC until now?
Well, so since I first joined, well, so APNIC always has had a very good reputation, and you know how I saw APNIC from outside, and this is what I told the APNIC team. So APNIC is really best in class.
Okay.
So you know, very professional, and you can see the various kinds of work that they do. Both in terms of the engagement, the products. You look at the My APNIC, or for the members, for when they look at the value-added services. All of these are improving every single year.
Right.
And coming to APNIC, this is indeed the case. So it's not just externally, but internally, you look at it, the team is very motivated and very professional. So I'm actually very proud and I feel very privileged to be in this role and to be able to work with such a world-class team.
Great. Have you already found some difference from your previous position to this?
Oh, naturally, there's always gonna be some difference.
Yeah, of course.
So first of all, you work with a different team, so it's getting used to working with each other. So in ICANN, I've worked with that same team for a number of years.
Sure.
And we got very used to each other. You know, I talk about it kind of like in say this interview setting, or because I used to come from communication school.
Okay.
So it's like everyone knows what their role is. So whoever is in charge of the lights, who's in charge of the camera, who's in charge of the sound, and the director, we sit down, let's go. We can do it straight away.
Okay.
Now I'm in a new role. So I'm like, oh, sorry, who's in charge of the lights? Who's in charge of the camera?
Okay.
So it's finding this out too.
Yeah.
And the team has to be supportive of me as well and teach me. Say, okay, I'm in charge of the lights. This is how we do it.
Okay.
So it's spending time to do that too. So there's that aspect which, you know, trying to work into assimilating into the team and working with each other. And of course, there is a difference in culture. So this is how I describe every organization. Each of us add to what is the culture of the organization.
Sure.
So it's actually not really like, oh, this is the culture, you come in, you must fit into this culture. But everyone adds to it to make it better.
Okay.
We want to keep the best things that's there. And some of us might have negative experiences, but we should drop the negative experience and focus on the positive and work together. So coming to work with the APNIC team is also trying to help them be able to think of how can we put all of our best on the table and support each other. So those are areas that, you know, starting in a new role are all the initial challenges.
Okay. That impressed me a lot. very good to put. Very good to, you know, describe how you need to fit yourself into the you know, executive, the representative, responsible position for a lot of parts and a lot of professional people under you, and you need to know who does what, and then what is missing, and if any, then that's a yes. I'm learning how that you know, CEO job looks like. Thank you very much for that.
I tend to share with my own team in my previous role and now. I think in terms of values don't change. So the values determine how we want to do something.
Okay.
So how I've always set my values with everybody is my job as in the leadership role is to help you succeed. So it's not for me to tell you what to do. Okay. But for me to help you find success instead. So, you know, different people don't understand this sometimes because the first time they're working with me. So I have to explain this several times. So it's helping you find success. So it means I need to understand what you do and also need to understand what are some of the challenges that you have. And how can I help you in my role to give you the resources or give you the tools to be able to find the next level of success. And we also have to jointly agree what does success look like. So being able to determine this together. Okay. Yeah. So those are the areas that will take more time, but working using this fundamental value, it's then we are able to find success together.
All right. Sounds great. All right. Let's talk about the future. That I think I myself is a very knowledgeable on the APNIC, because the JPNIC has been one of the major members in the APNIC, and I actually long involved in the APNIC's business. So Tell me about the strategic plan for the coming years. How the APNIC will move forward on their business.
Thank you. So APNIC actually right now already has an established strategic plan for the year 2024 to 2027. But I also shared with the Executive Council, the board, when I was during the interview phase. I shared that, okay, if you want me to take up this role, I will look at the strategic plan and share with you my review of it. So I'm working on that right now. Yeah, but the large fundamental pillars that is in this current strategic plan, they are all very sound and is very good. So it's just looking at it and being able to define what are the clear to define the goals in a clearer manner. So I'm working on that now. And over the past 2 months, that has been the main priority. And I've distilled it down to 5 key areas in terms of the strategic plan. So the 5 areas are basically, we're coming back to the number 1 basic. The first thing is, again, APNIC's mission is we support the development of the internet in the region through the allocation of numbering resources. So it's allocating numbering resources, and then we can help to develop the internet. So the fundamental core pillar that is APNIC is still the registry. So we are a registry business. But in the course of being a registry, when we allocate numbering resources, every stakeholder or organization that gets the IP address becomes a member of APNIC. So we are also a member organization. So our focus is to provide the service, information, support to our members as well. So these two come hand in hand. So this is the first pillar. Now, second pillar is, I mentioned about the development. So when APNIC first started, a lot of it was, okay, we distribute IP addresses and ASNs to members, but actually they don't really know how to run the network. So APNIC then took up the role of training. So, okay, if you don't know how to run the network, don't worry, we'll come and teach you. So we did that as the base. We are still doing that today. But as the technology evolved, we have moved from just teaching people how to do routing and IPv4 deployment. Now it's IPv6 deployment. And then we then have routing security. So now it's also about teaching people about RPKI deployment. So a couple of these areas. But then there's others, which are like, within our community, internet exchange points. So helping the community to establish IXPs. And it has a tie-in to policy as well, because policymakers like to see that the traffic remains local. So if we can establish IXPs in a certain country or certain location, we can keep the traffic local. So that also further enhances the internet. So that's a third area. So on development, I mentioned IPv4, IPv6, IXPs now, then RPKI for routing security. So we also support like network operators groups, because that's the community that comes together. And the 5th group is also like security communities. So under development, we support these different groups. And in doing so, if their operations and the way they run the network can make the internet better, we are supporting the development of the internet. So this is the second pillar. Now the third pillar is on policy development. So the distribution of numbering resources policy is not made by me, like APNIC staff, because we are all governed by the multi-stakeholder model. So policy at APNIC is made by APNIC community. And based on the multi-stakeholder model, anyone who's interested can participate. Now, the challenge for us now in the current landscape is there's a lot of question about does the multi-stakeholder still work? There's question about multi-stakeholder model making policy very slowly, or not the right people are making policy. So these are all the challenges that we have. But again, fundamentally, APNIC is the policy development space for the distribution of numbering resources.
Right.
So we need to continue to work with stakeholders all over the region. And this is also why I think, coming here to Japan and interacting with the community here, partnering with JPNIC, and through this program as well, that we can reach out to more stakeholders and update them on what's being discussed and invite them to be in this policy development space, because this is extremely important.
Right.
So I would continue to try to bolster this area and put in more resources to support policy development in APNIC, so that we can continue to make timely, relevant policies that evolves together with how people are using the internet now. So this is the third pillar.
Yep.
Fourth pillar is, how do we know what policy to make? How do we know how to update the policy?
Right.
We need to know what are the current trends, current challenges, current new technologies. We need to know these things. So APNIC needs to be a knowledge exchange space, so that we can be that platform for different communities to come together and have dialogue with each other. So when we can have dialogue, we can talk about, how are people using internet differently? What is the new technology? What are some current challenges, or are there new regulations?
Right.
So when we can have all these conversations together, that's when people would then be able to be informed. And then that would help us then think about what policy to develop.
Right.
So this knowledge exchange space is extremely important. Now, coming from APNIC, we support this knowledge exchange space as well, because we do a lot of research. So a lot of you may know Jeff Houston. He's our chief scientist.
Right.
So the research that he does is world-class.
Yes.
But that supports only one aspect of this knowledge exchange space. So what we need to do is find more of these thought leaders to come to APNIC, and then we can have this discussion. So by being able to have this conversation, then it will inform back on the policy development side. So again, for me, it's about working with various partners like JPNIC. Through working with JPNIC, we get to reach out to the Japanese community and then continue to be able to have this dialogue, and then we can stay informed. So this is the fourth pillar. And the fifth one is being a responsible member of the internet ecosystem.
Right.
So what does this mean actually, right? So the internet ecosystem is really built on the basis of trust.
Sure.
And there's a lot of questions like, why are private organizations like ICANN playing such an important function of delegating domain names, of delegating the entire pool of IP addresses to the 5 regional internet registries? There's always been this question. And we need to support each other. So right now, there are various challenges that's being discussed, including for next year. Should the Internet Governance Forum continue?
Sure. Right.
So that's one question. And related to that is, again, does the multi-stakeholder model work? So for APNIC, we need to be a responsible member to support this global ecosystem.
Right.
If most of us, we are very focused on our own work, but we need to know that we are part of this unified logical layer. And if the unified logical layer breaks somewhere else, it affects us too.
That's right.
So we have to continue to support.
Right.
And this is why I also like to, we have a lot of strong support from JPNIC. And, Akinori, personally, you participate in a lot of these as well.
Yes.
And I like the Japanese community to continue to support us, because we have to support this global internet ecosystem together. Then if this logical layer remains unified, everything on top, all the innovation that you're seeing can continue.
Right.
But if our logical layer is broken, then all the benefits that we have with a single internet space then goes away.
That's right. Yes.
So we have to be we have to put in some resource and attention to support the internet ecosystem. And another flip side of the same thing about being a responsible member of this global ecosystem is that we have to manage ourselves well as well. So right now, APNIC, amongst other organizations, actually every organization is having this challenge as well.
Yes.
After COVID, costs have increased a lot for most organizations. I know in Japan, perhaps inflation is not that high, but in other countries like Singapore, Australia, amongst others, costs have increased a lot.
Yes.
So the cost of doing business has increased, and it also put a lot of budget pressure on APNIC.
Right.
So for APNIC, my goal is that we continue to be a world-class, well-managed, accountable, transparent, financially well-managed organization. So that's going to be my key focus. So by being that world-class, well-managed organization, when others look at the regional internet registries, they see us as proper international world-class organizations fit for purpose. That we can continue to play this important role that we are playing. But if we are not able to keep our house in order and manage ourselves well, then already the credibility of our organizations go down. So it's important that we can be this responsible member of the internet ecosystem.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I totally agree that the 4 or 5 points that's really interrelated, but all important. And then it's actually really crucial to maintain the confidence from not only the community but all human beings on our system, APNIC, and then the ecosystem of the global internet infrastructure coordination. And then I do think that RIRs are the quite fundamental, crucial part of the internet infrastructure, because we have the 76,000 autonomous systems all around the world, and then all of them are the members of the RIRs in that respective the region, and then we all maintaining the internet infrastructure, and then APNIC is them. Yes, you are the head of the APNIC secretariat, but actually APNIC is all of us, including the JPNIC. So that's a really huge strength for us to do the business. So that in that way, that I'm really expect you for the expanding the the APNIC's power, I say capability to do this job. Do you have any envision for the future of the APNIC?
So right now, my focus will be on developing these 5 areas that I just described. And when we strengthen these 5 areas, then APNIC will continue to be able to make relevant policy. We are, like you said, all the members make up APNIC.
Yes.
And that we are in this space where we can exchange knowledge, exchange best practice. Then we can continue to strengthen the internet, both in terms of IPv6 deployment, improving security. We can also work on addressing challenges like regulation together.
That's right.
So we formed a much stronger ecosystem ourselves, and that would help us achieve that bigger mission, which is maintaining the single global interoperable internet.
That's right. Very good. Thank you very much. How about how about the other part of the internet? Do you have any idea or some image of the future for the internet itself?
So, in some ways, some people talk about our space now, which is the unique identifier space or the logical layer.
Right.
Some people talk about our space as very boring. It's like a Web 1 dinosaur. Some people will talk about this in that way. But our role really is to make sure this infrastructure is able to support any innovation on top that happens, and that this infrastructure can continue to scale. Now, where we are right now is that we, in the numbering space, we are using IP version 6. There's more IP version 6 addresses than there is sand in the world. So we are quite optimistic about how this current protocol will continue to be able to serve the internet now. But for me, I like to also be able to talk to everyone and think, what else do we need that can support the internet of the future? So would it be AI, or could it be interplanetary?
Interplanetary, yes.
Yes, interplanetary networks.
Yes.
So we also need to think about that future, because if our space does not evolve and scale, then innovation on top of our space is not able to move together. So on the one hand, people can see us as, oh, you know, the Web 1 dinosaurs and all that. On the other hand, I think for us, what we want to continue to have dialogue and think about is go back to our initial values of the founders of the internet.
Okay, yes.
Where can we continue to innovate ourselves? And, you know, sometimes this is a drawback. If I may have a couple of minutes just to talk about something I learned from watching Mark Zuckerberg's interview.
Okay.
So he actually talked about, why do startups work so well when they are bigger companies like, you know, Google or Apple or Microsoft?
Right.
Google, Apple, Microsoft have way more resources. And the startup's idea is actually very simple.
Yeah.
But how come the big companies don't want to do it? Then they allow the startups to suddenly have a very disruptive new idea that disrupts the big companies instead.
Right.
So why did this happen? And Mark Zuckerberg's take on it was, in a startup company, there's a lot of young people with no resources, but what they have is nobody says that their idea cannot work.
Okay.
And they are positive about their idea. But as you become more and bigger and more established, people see more of the negative sides, like, oh, this thing doesn't earn money. How can we scale? This social networking is only for kids. So they think about that. But it's the same, right? Like I was using internet first, it's IRC. Whoever thought IRC would become internet as it is today, right? So it's the same concept.
Okay, yes.
So for us, even though we are now very established in our unique identifier space, I think we should hold on to some of those initial values, which is new ideas. We should think, yeah, let's try it. Let's have like community members who are interested. Let's try it. Let's not stop them from trying. And I think that value is something that we have to hold on to. Then by having this value, then we will be able to continue to evolve the internet. But if right now I'm hearing a lot more voices about, oh, it's not a good idea, or we shouldn't try, or it doesn't work. When we shut down ideas like that, we are also stopping innovation ourselves. So I think it's important that we think and continue to encourage the next generation to continue to innovate and encourage them. So this week in Japan Internet Week, we saw a lot of new generation with bright ideas. And I think it's our role as this current generation of leaders to encourage them and support them.
Great. Thank you very much for the great talks. And then I actually really convinced with you. And then I see the bright future of the APNIC and the internet, which will be underpinned by the APNIC and RIRs. So thank you very much for the great talk for today. So it is now. I'm gonna concluding this session, and then I was you've already told about your family in some way. Do you're so busy with your new job and your family with the new baby? Well, do you have any hobby on you? Do you have any passion? Something you are so passionate on?
So frankly, I don't have much of a life. So it's really family and work. These are my two main areas. My only hobby used to be tennis. I used to be a very avid fan of tennis. But now I don't have that much time to play. So the only things I do for hobby mainly is weightlifting. So I mainly do weightlifting more to also keep myself fit and healthy. But I'm very interested especially for Olympics. I like to watch the Olympic weightlifting.
I didn't know about weightlifting on you.
So I do a bit of that just for maintenance. But at my age now also, I cannot do too heavy. So I just do more for maintenance specifically. Then on the side, because partly also because of the stress of the job. So going to sleep is actually a challenge. I don't sleep that well generally.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of time on audiobooks. So on books and audiobooks. But audiobooks, I listen to all sorts of topics from history to philosophy. I learned a lot from these audiobooks. In fact, you know, the Sun Tzu Art of War is a very old book.
Yes.
I finished the entire book on audio, 2.5 hours.
Wow. Wow, great.
Yeah, and in that I learned a lot also, you know, that I can apply in leadership and management. So this has been one of the places that I've been very interested in. So I do pride myself as more of an intellectually curious person. So I enjoy a lot of learning about history, management, leadership, philosophy, and you know, if I can exchange ideas with anybody, I'm very interested in these areas.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much for a great talk, Jia-Rong. Thank you for joining the JPNIC Talk Lounge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your all comments and then your passion to your profession.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. The JPNIC Talk Lounge with Mr. Jia-Rong Low is now over. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much.